Love and Healing with Authors Alcove. I am your host, Angie Wolf. Today I have author, speaker, and certified transformational healing coach, Erika Beeson. You can check out her website at mindfulhealingmethod.com, where you can work with her either on a one-on-one coaching session or participate in her 90-day Reignite Your Life program. I have invited her on today so she could share about how to find the root cause of what is weighing us down without rehashing the stuff we don't want to, as well as how to stop repeating cycles and why we need to step away from expectations. And of course, we are also going to be talking about her new debut novel, The Renewal of You, finding the courage and awareness to live the life you are meant to, which helps us to do that. Thank you so much for joining us, Erika.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself and what it is that you aim to do?
Absolutely. Happy to do that. As you mentioned, my name is Erika Beeson, and honestly, I'm just kind of an average, everyday gal who's kind of going through the throes of trying to figure out life, throwing myself into all kinds of different molds to try to see where I fit. And I just kind of felt like I was morphing to everybody else, and I never really was making myself happy. So that's sort of, about 4 or 5 years ago, I took a deep dive into this big, giant personal development journey. And, I grew up in a great household. My childhood was awesome. And, I think over the course of life, whether it's, people helping you, I'll put that in air quotes, helping you find your way through the best knowledge that they have, which is great. It's guidance we need, but it may not be exactly what fits for you individually. And so that was kind of the realization that came to me, which, for some people that might be kind of like, well, duh. Not life is not a one size fits all recipe, but the tools that I was able to gain through my journey were things that, like, if you don't know it, you don't know it. And I had no idea those tools were out there. So when I found them, that's when my mission was like, all right, I got to share this stuff, because if I can help somebody get to that place of happiness, that place of pure joy and peace with their life faster or more efficiently, that's what I wanted to do. So aside from my personal journey, I live here in Utah. I'm obsessed with animals. I love the outdoors. I have a 13-year-old daughter who is just my little BFF spicy teenager, and I love her to pieces. And I'm just here trying to really help others along the way.
That's nice. So one of the things that I noticed that you had said, you are a master coach of neuro-linguistic programming. That's long. What exactly is neuro-linguistic programming?
Great question. It is long. So we just shorten it to NLP. It makes it a little less of a tongue twister. NLP was actually developed in the 70s by two Americans, a mathematician and a linguist. And basically what it is it's the study of the mind, right? Our neurology, our behavior. So that's the neuro part. And then linguistics is language. So obviously how we speak, how we communicate. And then the programming piece is all about kind of just rewiring the way those two things work together in our minds. So not only can we shift the way we experience events or the way we process information, we can also rewire and change the way we present communication and we present information. This allows us to not only just communicate better with our interpersonal relationships at work, at home, it allows you to understand yourself better, which then in turn allows you to get past limiting beliefs. NLP techniques are a lot of the techniques that I use to help my clients move past kind of those roadblocks, those mental blocks, without rehashing all the old details and making it worse. It's probably some of the most impactful techniques I've ever encountered in my life and in my journey. So that's sort of the nutshell version of NLP.
So I love that you teach how to help us get past those roadblocks without rehashing the problems, because I know I've done a lot of talk therapy. One of my good friends who has had a lot of trauma, when she rehashes, she actually comes home and she feels so much worse. And so I was wondering, what exactly do you do to help people move beyond them without rehashing?
Great question. And that's seriously one of the things that I love the most about NLP. NLP at its core deals with the structure instead of the content. So as I'm working with clients, I don't necessarily care about the details of the event. I care about how they think about or how they reacted to the event itself. So it's more helping them get through the process of what that, I don't want to say that what that's done to them, but what it's left them with, rather than, hit me, so-and-so betrayed me, whatever, right? We don't need to rehash that. And you hit the nail on the head when you said that rehashing that actually just brings that trauma back up to the surface. Now, NLP doesn't encourage you to stop that. We want you to clear that out and get rid of it, but we can do it just from an event-based procedure or technique versus talk therapy, tell me all the dirty details and remember it all and relive it all. We just go to the event and we take care of releasing it and letting it go through specific techniques. You don't have to say a word about the details.
I know a lot of people would probably feel more comfortable doing that because they don't want even their counselor to know some of the details that they have gone through. But on your website, you mentioned that you work with people to find the root cause of what is weighing them down. How do you find the root cause without rehashing things?
That's a great question. So looking at the root cause again goes back to the structure of how someone processes things, not necessarily what it was. So generally what we do when a client comes to me for one-on-one, they generally have something that's bothering them or something they're struggling to get past. And that could actually be the thing, or that could just be a symptom of the deeper problem. So generally in our first session, we go through kind of an introductory session, or maybe like a detailed, just kind of overview. I ask very specific questions that don't go into rehashing details, but it helps me understand how you process things, how you are looking at this specific issue. And that allows me, just through all the training that I've had, to determine if that is the actual issue or if there is something deeper. And while that's not a specific step-by-step technique I could technically share here because it is an individual process, it is a really beautiful process. And to be completely straight with you, I tell my clients from the get-go, if you start to tell me a story and you're starting to share with me more details than I even need, and I already know how you think about this situation, I let them know, don't be offended if I cut you off. We don't need the details. I have the information I need, and we can move forward from there.
That's really interesting. So you stated that about 5 years ago, you found yourself stuck in the repeating cycle where you couldn't find happiness. Can you just share a little bit about that and how you ended up finding your own happiness?
Absolutely. It's so interesting. I think, it's an analogy that I've used in some of my speaking engagements and even a little bit in my book is that, as we're growing up and we're learning how to bake or cook in the kitchen, right? Our moms or our grandmas or our cooking class teacher teach us methods, right? They teach us how to do it. Maybe their best practices. They pass down traditions, whatever that is. But as you get more experience in the kitchen and you start to learn that maybe you don't like walnuts in your cookies, or maybe you prefer, cinnamon in your oatmeal or whatever, you start to tweak things to make it your own and to make it the way you like it. And that's the important piece right there, is that I kept repeating a pattern. I kept repeating a cycle of a recipe for life that I thought was the way to find happiness, that I was told by so many people was the way to find happiness. And I just kept trying to shove that round peg in a square hole until finally I just was like, well, truthfully, I swung to the polar opposite. And I was like, that's not working. Forget it. We're going to go try this opposite thing. And that was too far of a pendulum swing. So I ended up right back in the middle, where I was able to actually sort of just clean slate everything. In fact, that's a chapter in my book, is clean slate. And what you can do is just really start with the building blocks of who you are at your core. Especially nowadays, we have so much noise pouring into our minds every second. It's an insane amount of information that we're being shoveled. And it's almost like an information overload, to the point where our own internal voice is so drowned out that we forget to listen to ourselves. Because I don't care what kind of a doctor, or, well, maybe I shouldn't say doctor, because they actually have some boundaries there, but we know ourselves better than anybody else. If we will just learn to tune into ourselves and trust ourselves. And that was the big clincher for me, was I was allowing someone else to just give me a map and trust that the destination at the end of that map was where I wanted to be, and it just wasn't.
I think I can really relate with that, because I would say, I know you said 5 years ago was for you. For me, it was probably more like 4 years ago, about the same, where I realized that I was following other people's expectations and I didn't really follow my own, which is something you talk about in your book, The Renewal of You, finding the courage and awareness to live the life you were meant to. So I wanted to talk a little bit about stepping away from expectations and what type of expectations you are referring to and why are they harmful?
Yes, it can be a really hard process, to be very honest, but it can also be the most freeing process. Expectations, I'll just, kind of give some general examples that I feel can be harmful or misleading maybe, is really just expectations about, it's anything that this is just the way we do it, or this is just what women do, or this is just how, you just have to go to college. Like, any of these things that are these cultural or community or even familial standards, it just doesn't have to be that way. And, I think in older generation, it was a little bit more prominent that it was, you respect your elders, you do what your parents say, you don't want to disappoint your grandparents, you're going to do X, Y, Z. And I have such a deep regard for respect of elders, but respect of elders doesn't mean doing life the way they want you to.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people need to make that disconnect. They need to cut that cord, because those kinds of expectations force you to stay in a mold that may not be yours, that may not be yours at all.
I know that brings us to another point that you made in your book. You mentioned that saving yourself meant you needed to find faith in yourself rather than outside sources. What does that look like for you?
Oh, heavens. I was so under the impression that someone else knew better than me, that someone else's plan was smarter than my plan, or that someone else's roadmap was more of a guarantee than my own. I almost felt like, oh, if you go it alone, that's a crapshoot. Good luck with that. But the point is this is an analogy that, I don't know, rings true for me, is that if I'm looking to reach, like, say I want to go, I love hiking, I'm obsessed with hiking and trail running. If I'm looking at the top of a mountain and I'm like, okay, that's where I want to go, and someone over here says, hey, I can get you there. This trail guide is like, yeah, I can get you there. And he's got like a group of people, or he or she, let's go. I'm going to follow what they're doing. He said he's getting to the top of the mountain, but he takes you to the top of a different mountain. Right. And I just like blindly was like, yeah, I want to go to the top of the mountain. It just may not be the same end result. You might get to a similar location, but it might not be the location you really wanted to be. And I think if we just learn to look ahead and go after what we really, really want without being afraid of forging our own path, despite what challenges might come along the way, we might have to take a sharp left turn. We might have to, go off the trail for a little bit. But you're still heading to where you want to be, not where someone else is just you're kind of blindly following.
I think that rings true, not just in my own personal life, but also with my parenting. Because I remember hearing, this is how you parent, and this is what you should experience. Well, my daughter was different than everybody else's daughter, just as your daughter is different than everybody else's daughter. And when it wasn't until I started trusting myself that I really felt like I was getting the results I wanted, and we were becoming closer, and now we're extremely close. It's just, I think that we too often think that someone, like you said, someone else knows better than we do. And so we try to do what was good for them and their experiences and their personality and the personalities of the people around them. So I just want to ask another thing about your book. Can you just share an overall what the book is about, what we should expect, and what your aim is with your book?
Oh, yes, I would love to. So truthfully, the book it's not long and drawn out. I have a couple of close friends who, read it in 2 sittings. It's not a terribly long book. And really what it's designed to do is just sort of create a catalyst, or maybe help kind of like on the tip of the iceberg, just to sort of help start the wheels turning, to allow people to just contemplate what could be on the other side of that door when you unlock that door and step into a world of not living by other people's expectations. Because truthfully, this life is our own, and we're not supposed to live it by other people's expectations. And the book goes through several different kind of analogies or anecdotes that help make the whole process very, very relatable. And there's also some reflection exercises where you can actually write in the book, and it helps you just kind of steer a little bit more inward. Like, instead of, tell me what to do, tell me what to do, tell me what to do, it helps you look inside and ask yourself the right questions, helps you maybe unravel some of the stories that perhaps you've been told that don't fit you. And hopefully it just kind of spearheads a whole beautiful process of a deeper dive into better understanding yourself and experiencing the beautiful freedom that comes with letting go of those expectations.
I know one of the things you also had mentioned, I believe it was in the blurb of the book, it talked about how we are trying to seek validation, unfortunately, is not how we are, what aligns with our true purpose. Can you explain what you meant by that and how you go about it in the book?
Of course. This was one of the largest aha moments for me. And the way that I'm going to explain it right now is actually not the same way that I explain it in the book. But what I like to point out to people is, so I actually think it was one of my counselors a long time ago. She said, well, you're just a classic gold star chaser. And I was like, what? So it's basically someone who is continually searching for that pat on the back, that gold star sticker. You did a good job. Great job. Great job. Pat on the back. Here's your award. You were first in line. You were the quietest student, whatever. And it really caused me to do some inner reflection and some huge searching about why I was that way. And the bottom line is it doesn't really matter, like, maybe what was missing or what misconceptions I had in my younger years. But the bottom line is, in most cases, people who are people pleasers and or gold star chasers are doing things someone else's way to receive that praise, mostly because, now this is like the mind bender, mostly because they don't have the level of self-love to give themselves that praise. So they are searching for it from other people. So the moment you can flip that and give yourself the pat on the back will be the moment that you're free from that behavior.
One of the things that my counselor has said to help your child learn this is when they show you a picture, rather than you telling them what you like about it, ask them, what is your favorite part about it? And you asking them to make sure that they are telling you. And you can do that even as teenagers, even as my oldest is an adult now. And you can even do that in the ways that you ask them, like if they said, say something about their work or school, you can say, well, what is it about that you feel about it? And just kind of keep reflecting back to them, so that way they think about how they feel, not necessarily trying to get the validation from you. And I loved that. That's what my counselor had talked about.
Honestly, I love that too. Thank you for sharing that.
I do want to talk a little bit about your 90-day Reignite Your Life program. What is that, and what does it aim to do, and how can we be part of that if we are interested?
Ooh, I would love to talk about it. It's honestly one of the favorite things that I do. I just wrapped one session, and I've got another one starting mid-January. So essentially what it is, it's not a group program, but I do handle it in groupings just for scheduling, right? But what it is it's a program that takes you, so honestly, I mentioned my book is kind of like the tip of the iceberg. It's the catalyst for this deep dive into really understanding yourself and separating yourself. My 90-day program takes that to a whole other level. It is a 90-day journey, starting with the building blocks, the basics of really who you are. What is your core? There's 6 different modules, 7 now, actually. I added another one, that take you through step by step. Really, honestly, think about it like remodeling a house. Okay, you're going to like demo part of it, and then you're going to rebuild it, and then you're going to paint it and make it pretty how you want it, right? So it takes you through this process of understanding what is working in your life and how to expand on that, and maybe how to let go of some of the things that aren't working. It will encourage you to, take a deep dive into some of your other connections, relationships, even your career, And then we move through this whole clearing the clutter, clearing the emotional clutter, clearing the noise in your life, making sure that you have that clear space in your head and in your heart to really turn inward. And man, I tell you, some of the transformations I've seen from people that go through my program, and truthfully, I will state this program is specifically designed for women. It is so beautiful to watch the change and the confidence and the courage and the freedom that these women come out on the other side of this program with. And so many of them I'm still so close with. So even seeing them, a year past this program, because I only launched it, I think, just over a year and a half ago the first time, has been so incredible to me. It's what my whole purpose is about, and it fills my heart.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you also just for being on here and sharing about yours. And where can they go to sign up for that?
So the Reignite Your Life program, you can sign up right on my website, which is mindfulhealingmethod.com. There's a link, I believe, that says work with me, and then the 90-day program is listed right there. And that's the best place to go ahead and sign up. Currently, when you click on the link to sign up, it will say that there is a session currently happening, and then signups will be opening up soon. I just need to make sure that I count my waitlist people already before I open up the sign up, so I don't get too many in that group. But yep, that's the best place.
Great. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes so people can more easily find it. So again, I just want to thank you so much, but I did want to ask one more question before you go. What do you hope that people get out of your book? What do you hope they walk away with after reading it?
When I first started writing the book, I was writing it just therapeutically for myself. I was going through a really hard time. I had broken my hand, so I couldn't do a lot of the other activities outside that I was used to doing. So I had all this downtime, right? So it started out as just sort of a therapeutic thing for me. And I had a friend of mine read it, and she's like, Erika, this is amazing. This could help so many people. And then I had to go through getting past all the imposter syndrome, right, to actually decide I wanted to put it out there and publish it. And right now it's just available on Amazon. That's the only place you can get it. Well, other than a bookstore local to where I'm at, but for your audience, Amazon. But the message behind the book really is just to help people realize that there is a different way. You don't have to do it the way everyone says you have to do it. You don't have to keep up or compete with everyone you're seeing on social media. You don't have to make life look like everyone else's. You are your own unique human being, and your life is yours to create.
Yes, thank you. That's very beautiful. And again, thank you so much for joining us. I'll make sure I put the link to your book in the show notes as well as that program. And again, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I hope you have a great day.
You as well.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Authors Alcove. We will be back next week on Wednesday, where we will have a writer share yet another piece of work. Also, every other Tuesday, we do learn from experts such as editors, marketing execs, book cover artists, illustrators, and more. If you are interested in being a guest on our show, feel free to go to authorsalcove.com, go to the podcast tab, and then click on Be a Guest. If you're looking for a healed heart, hop on over to our sister podcast, Strength, Love, and Healing with Authors Alcove. You can find that on Spotify and the Apple Podcast. Thank you so much for listening today. Have a great day.